All right, we should be recording now. So first and foremost, thank you guys for dropping on. Um, really wanted to take an opportunity here. I know we've had a lot of changes in the last year with personnel at our teams. So one of the things that we talked about with the RPOS team is how do we get the properties back to a point where you guys are comfortable editing and managing the digital dining point of sale system? And really, how do you have more ownership of it at the property? So while we encourage you to continue to reach out to the RPOS help desk and work with Richard and Brian and Adam and everyone else where needed, we really want to get it to a point where you guys have full control. You've got the accesses, you have the knowledge to be able to make changes to your menus, make changes to buttons, make modifications to the emailed reports, how to troubleshoot some of those interfaces. So we wanted to open it up and have this session today to walk you through some of the basic management as well as some of the basic front end operation of digital dining. And then open it up if you've got any kind of questions or if there are additional trainings that you guys want to go through specifically for your property teams to show you how to interact with the system. I know several of you already have food and beverage operations that have resumed. But for those of you that haven't, my hope is that this training will show you how to make any sort of menu modifications as well. If you're getting to reopen with, Poindexter, or you need to make menu modifications or something for Trophy Room or for a new outlet. So that's kind of teeing it up. Richard, before you jump in, is there anything else that you want to kind of chat about or set the stage for today?
No, kind of an open forum, really. I mean, I'll go through, this itinerary that I've set up, but if during, the class there's any questions or anything you guys want to come up with and I'm not hitting, feel free to just chime in and we'll go, from there.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, well, take it away.
All right, awesome, guys. Well, thank you again. I'm Richard. I'm sure I've spoken to every one of you guys sometime or another, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I will show one of the locations that we've got right now. Hang on a second. We're going to bring up Baumgar. Okay, so typically this is more for the back office. So what I wanted to do first is hit on a couple of the little troubleshooting things first before we get into programming, because, I know the process, you call the help desk and, depending on where they are in the queue, the call might take a little while for somebody to attend to. So some of the small things you guys could probably handle on your own pretty quick. So I figured let me just hit those, first. So on the back office, which that computer is typically loaded in the MDF room, somewhere close to where the property management server is located. And it'll be labeled Digital Dining Server or DD Back Office. Typically, it does have its own monitor, keyboard, and mouse, but I know sometimes they share it with a kitchen or a screen and a keyboard and mouse that's on the technology rack. So most of them, to get to the digital dining screen, if it's not already up on the keyboard, all you have to hit is Shift, and then it'll change the screen. You got to hit it kind of quickly, and it'll change to different screens. So once you get to the digital dining screen, which if you look, you guys can see the screen, right? That I have up right now?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, perfect. So you'll have little purple squares there, and that'll show you, okay, this is my digital dining server. So once you're in there, we have all these icons that are on the desktop for easy access. So here, as you can see down at the bottom, we've got these gears that are running, down at the bottom. These are all programs that need to run. Each one of them has a specific job, obviously. Like, for example, this one here that I've brought up in the middle, hang on a second, let me lower these, is what's called digital dining printing. This is the one that takes care of the printers in the kitchen. So in the event, when you're, putting in an order and it's not printing at the bar remote or in the kitchen remote, it's probably because this program has either been shut off or is not running. So all you have to do is basically just double click on the icon here, which is called DD print, and just double click on it and it'll start running down at the bottom. Then your printers should typically come up. The other one is your credit card server. Now credit cards run on two programs, one of them called NetEPay, which also needs to be running down at the bottom, and this one here, credit card server. So let me see which one that is. Let's bring it up here. Oops. Of course, it's the last one. So it'll be DD CD server 1 DSI client. So that program needs to be running. That's the digital dining interface. And then the NetEPay is the gateway basically from the point of sale to the processor. So both of these programs need to be running. So some of the typical errors you'll get is, credit card offline or socket error when you're trying to process a credit card. First thing to do is go to the server and see if these two programs are running. Obviously, if they're not, just double click on them and they'll start up automatically. And then that's probably 90% of the credit card issues that we have is because the program either was shut off accidentally or Windows had some sort of an error and closed it on its own. Other than that, then we would look into internet issues and stuff like that because all the credit cards run off of IP, obviously. So that's another one that's important. The property management is this one here, the DDPMS server. So again, this is if, say, room charges aren't posting correctly, they're getting an error, declined, or anything like that. First thing to do is come here, open this, application. If it is open, hit exit, and then just double click on this icon. 9 times out of 10, again, that's what takes care of it. Sometimes it also requires a reboot of the property management system, but typically just doing this, will take care of the problem. Or again, like I said, it might not be running in the background. So those are the crucial interface programs. If you do call us and we say, hey, we can't see you online, we need to get connected to you through the portal or the support portal we call BOMGAR. Every terminal should have this icon on it and also the back office. If it doesn't, let us know and we'll make sure we get it loaded. But basically what you do is you double click on it, it'll take you automatically to a website. If we can't get to that website, obviously we have internet issues, but the support technician will tell you, okay, go to BOMGAR, click on me, like for example, Richard 87 or 116 or 87. Actually, this is my son. So I'm at 87 and he's 116. But basically you just click on the link. It'll prompt you to click here. You just, click here whenever it does, and then you just run the next screens. I'm not going to run it right now, but run it. And then soon after that, you'll see two computers kind of connecting to each other. And that's how we can get connected to you. And again, we can run that off of any point of sale terminal that you've got in the building. In the event that icon is not on the desktop, if you just open up Internet Explorer, and then there's a website, rpos.us, and I have a little document that I'll email you guys too on this. And then there, it'll also take you to that website as well. So yeah, those are just a couple of the technical things I wanted to hit. Not sure if you guys have any questions regarding that, like any questions on interface issues or any, other stuff like that outside of digital. If not, I'll go ahead and move forward. All right, so that basically hits that part. So now I wanted to hit a little bit on the email program that we use to send reports and stuff like that. Again, this is going to be running on the digital dining server, and the program is called AutoMailer. That program should always be running down here at the bottom right corner in green, and if you double click on it, it'll just kind of give you a little details on what email addresses and stuff this program is going to. It should always be in this poll now mode. So basically every like 10, this one here is set for every 2 minutes to go out and check this directory for a report that digital dining dumps into, and it sends it out automatically. Sometimes, if someone's on the back office, they might stop this, and that's why you're not getting reports. So, basically if something happens like that where you're not getting reports for a couple of days, you come here and you launch this program. Okay, it'll automatically go minimize down to the bottom right. But if you double click on it, it'll bring it up, and then you can immediately send the emails by just hitting stop. And then again, poll now. And what this will do is this will go out, this will check the directory for whatever reports are already in there and send them out automatically for you. Now, the key here is to make sure that you start the program back up and not hit the X, because if you hit the X, obviously it closes the program. Just minimize it, and then it'll automatically run down here at the bottom. So that's the key, is not to exit, but always hit minimize. Now, as far as emails are concerned, it's feast or famine. So this will send the emails out to everyone that's on this list. So there's no way for us to be able to, only say, okay, this report goes to this email, that report goes to that one. So if you need to add an email or remove it, basically you go into these fields and remove it, and just being careful that between each email address, there's a comma. Basically what I do is I highlight the field, go all the way to the end, hit comma and then space it and then put in my next email. Actually, that was a period. And then put in the next email address. And obviously if someone leaves, you just go into the same program, remove the email address. Again, being careful not to remove any of the commas and make sure that the spacing's right. And then you just stop and start the program back up again.
So one thing I want to specifically call out for the email addresses, we've been thinking about it at the home office level, and rather than modifying emails specifically here in the tool, one of the things that we've been thinking about is creating a new report distribution list so that the emails are managed from our side, so we can add to a specific distribution list rather than having to go in here into the actual auto mailer tool and modifying users that way.
Okay.
Similar to the other on-property distribution lists, what we can do is give each property GM access to modify that distribution list. So as you have changes on the fly, or you have personnel changes, you have immediate access to be able to go in and make changes to that. So it's something that we're contemplating. I think it makes sense for us to do that. We just haven't actually created those groups or anything yet. So once we get to the point of creating those distrib groups, we'll send something out to the field to say, hey, this is the new email that we've created for you, and we'll need your assistance. You being the property teams, now that you know how to do this, we'll need your assistance to go in and update the 2 or the CC or the BCC or whatever to whatever that new distro list is.
Beautiful. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. And then what I'm going to do also, Ben, just so you know, is in the beginning we've had this poll directory. It's different at each location, so I'm going to set it up so that it's all the same, so it automatically goes to the document directory on every one of the servers. So there's no, you'll see later on when I go to email a report, there's a few steps that some properties have to take to go into a different email directory. I'm just going to make it very simple so that it follows that document I sent out this morning.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Any other questions on the email? Everybody's good with that? So again, I'm going to pull and leave it all up, and instead of Xing, which I do it myself, trust me, I'm just going to go ahead and minimize. All right, so that'll bring up that program. All right, other than that, that's about it. All I have on as far as programming, external programs on the outside and interfaces. I just wanted to go over again that because that'll save you guys a ton of time instead of having to call into the help desk and wait 15, 20 minutes. Is something that can be taken care of in a couple of minutes. So I do have a backup document with all these little things that I'll send out this afternoon as well. All right, so if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and jump into DD back office. And so basically to enter employees, we're going to go into back office. And then as you create the employee, you're going to have a username and password that'll be assigned to you. So for right now, I'm just going to use our regular sysop number. Oops. Okay. And then for anything to do with employees, you're going to come up here to staff. And then there's the option there for staff members. Now, there's a whole bunch of information that can be inputted for an employee. We don't really use any of that information. If you do want to create a phone list, I recommend, putting in a phone number so you can always come back here and print a report like that. But otherwise, we're just going to put in the basic information to get the employee to be able to ring in orders and that kind of sort of thing. So typically what I do is I try to find an employee that's similar, that has the same job. Like for example, if you're going to add a bartender, just select someone who has the bartender job already. The key is to make sure when you go to add a new employee that you do hit this add button. If you stay here in view, you're actually changing the live employee. And with digital, when you make these changes, you don't have to hit save. It automatically starts changing and saving on the fly. If you ever get yourself caught in that, where you're, making changes and you want to just reset, just hit this little reset button down here, and it'll reset that employee back to normal, to the original setting. So to add an employee, obviously, you're going to hit this add button up on the top. Okay. Now the key is the staff ID is the first number that is assigned to the employee. Digital dining uses dual authentication. So when you first clock in, it prompts you for a number, and then it prompts you for a password right after. So what I, again, typically do is we use the last 4 digits of the social. And again, another warning, once you save the employee in that staff ID cannot be changed. Only the password can be changed. So important to make sure that you assign that number correctly. So for this exercise, I'll do, 6575, and I'll assign myself to this. Richard, you just put in the last name. Okay. The report name, that's the name that, for example, the username that a manager will use to log into the back office. Obviously, if it's a server or bartender, it's not really that important. POS name is the way that the employee's name shows up on the receipts, on the front of the house. Some people are a little funny about having their name show up, so you can put a nickname in here if you'd like as well. Security level, that's pretty obvious, whether it's a server, bartender, manager or general manager. For someone who needs access to the back office, basically general manager to manager or the positions you want to assign them. So for this one, we'll assign a bartender position. And then here, the regular password, that is the secondary password that the system will prompt when they sign into the system. So typically, I use the exact same number as the staff ID, 6575. And then again, for a manager, after a while, some employees can, get a hold of your number. The first number will always stay the same, but the secondary password you can change, later on. Okay. Work status. So if the employee ever leaves and we need to, or terminated, you can just set them to inactive here. You never want to delete an employee record. So this is where you would actually do that to get them off of the active list. Obviously, we'll leave this one as current. Other than that, on this main page, that is all the information you need. All this other info, if you want to put it in there, it's not mandatory, but you can. It's payroll information. Availability is more for scheduling, which we don't need. The next important tab is the department tab. Here are the different jobs that they'll work. And this is more for the screens that they'll get when they log into the POS system. So if they clock in as a Poindexter, obviously they'll get the Poindexter screen. Same for the bartender. And if you assign them a server screen, which to assign a new job, you can hit this new button. And then you can select from the jobs that are already in there. You just hit server. Okay. And just make sure that it's, an active job. So again, that's just the screens that display. The server will give you the table layout, bartender will give you the fast bar screen, and obviously the Poindexter will give you the coffee menu. Other than that, again, all these other screens all these other tabs are voluntary or not mandatory. You can eventually run some sales information on them, receipt as well. And you can also send a message to that one employee. If you ever come in here, type in a message when they clock in, it will come up on the screen when they, when they clock in. All right.
So
all that, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was to say two quick questions on this tab, if you can, Richard. The first one, back to the main tab.
Okay.
The first question is regarding back office system admin rights. I think you said specifically a user needs to have either the manager or the general manager security role to be able to get to back office. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And
yeah,
then,
anything above the manager. So anything below the manager will give you access to the back.
Perfect. Okay. And then the second question is there some way that we can find out specifically what rights are assigned to each one of these security groups, like server, hostess, bartender?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll go through that. Let me, we'll do this one. We'll save this employee. No questions on here, right? This is something that comes up every once in a while. If someone has the same last name, here is telling you the staff ID is used by another staff member. So that obviously means that we just have to assign them another number. So I think on Monday, I probably did that. So here it just needs to be changed up on the top here. And then also you'll get that same error sometimes with the report name. And a lot of times what I do is just put like a 1 on the end of it, or, shorten the name because you can't have duplicate names. Once you save that, and then you're ready for the next employee. Okay, pretty basic. Any questions on adding a staff member? Awesome. Okay, so Ben, to answer your question, to go and how to show who has access to these, you have to actually go into the other program called Setup, which is another shortcut on the desktop. So let's go SYSOP. Okay, and then we're going to go to the tab called passwords and security positions. Okay, so here, as you can see, staff has access to nothing. Point of sale rights are 0. So all they're good for is clocking in, clocking out. Server, same thing. They have no access to the back office, but the point of sale, they have anything that has access to or below. And I'll show you where that's at after we're done here. Also here, just so you know, auto log out. If a server logs into a screen, we like to just, sometimes they don't hit exit and it just sits there on the table layout screen. So what happens is another server comes behind them, brings up an order, and now it's under the other server's name. So we like to usually set this to a minute or even 30 seconds for it to time out. So you can do that by job. Bartender, again, no access to the back office. But right now we have it so when they log in, it just stays on that main screen the whole time. Right, so it doesn't log them off of the main POS screen. And again, on the point of sale system, they have anything 4 and below they have access to. Same here with manager. We're giving them anything from 5 down. And then here, we give them the options on the back office to be able to add menu items, staff members, register report. And here, say you want maybe this manager to be able to do menu items, but not view staff members. You just hit this down arrow and we can, give them no access or only run reports. So here's the different options and how you set the hierarchy for each one of those jobs. So you may not want them to run reports either. So you might have like an assistant manager, no account receivable information, that kind of thing. That's where you would set it here. And then again, general managers, usually 5 and above. So you can tinker around with this, and we can set it 7 and above for all anything, for the owner. And then the site admin, system administration has everything and has rights to it all. And then the way to do the different functions is under that same passwords, miscellaneous functions. There's a whole bunch of different options here that you can select, like exit an operating system. Anybody can do that. Here, exit the register, you have to have 5, or above, nothing below. Exit from the payment screen. So there's all different security options here on how to, what to do. And N means no password is going to be prompted, so anybody can access it.
Awesome. Okay, so would it be a pretty safe thing to say that, generally speaking, if the team needed to see specifically what was included, that they should be able to have full reign to go into the security position and be able to see what's assigned? But for this piece, it looks like it's a little more advanced, so that if they needed any sort of assistance to change any of these, that they should probably contact the help desk?
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
For the first time, so this way they can see how it all navigates, and then after that, I'm sure it's fine.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, so all right, so no questions about this. We're good here. So I'm gonna go ahead and bounce back to staff real quick and just go over a few things under there. Again, staff, here you have staff reports. So this is where you can run staff list and also a phone list. Eventually you can run sales analysis reports as well. If we need to run a staff tip report, you can run it here. Time and attendance we don't use, right, Ben? So we don't really need any of that info. I mean, sometimes if you want to run a tip report, you can also run the time and attendance report. Here, I'll show you this one. I think some locations do use this. And then you go to this one here called payroll report. Let me run it for a little more than a week here. All right, I'm going to hit print. And then this report here, what it'll give you is, the name of the, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. Obviously, the name of the employee, hours worked, overtime if there is overtime. And then here is, more importantly, the charge tips. So this is the credit card tips that they've received, through the POS. And declared as anything, if they clock out, it'll prompt them for declared tips, but to declare their tips in cash. And this is where it would report here. I think that's really the only payroll report that you guys run out of the system.
Hey, Richard, I'm assuming this is just based on hours clocked in the system is how it determines how they work.
Correct. Yeah, so it's clocking in and clocking out and the total hours they've worked in the system.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is it for the whole day or just during the time that they were clocked into the system?
Well, this particular report is run for, several weeks, and then it gives you by day. And no, actually,
Gotcha.
no, this will give you the accumulation, the summary of the whole. You can run a more detailed, like, clock in report if you want, payroll detail, but this one just gives you the summary for whatever date range you put in here.
I guess I'm just wondering if they were clocked in for 5, out of 8 operating hours, for example, and there was $100 in tips, but they got $50 worth of those tips during their shift. Does it take the entire $100 and divide it by hours?
No, it just gives you whatever it was for the entire shift.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, and then again, any report that we have, you can print and you can email to yourself. A lot, again, is up on the top left corner of the screen. You'll see this little export report option. When you select that, it'll prompt you for what format you want it to export to. Typically, we just do PDF, but there's a whole plethora of different Excel, CSV files, and that kind of thing that you can export it to. But by default, it goes to PDF. It'll prompt you a couple times here just to hit OK. And then it'll default to the directory where you drop the report. So here you can put, what the dates are, payroll, 4/6/1, right? And you save it. And then our little auto mailer program, which always should be running down here at the bottom right of the screen, every 2 minutes goes and checks that directory and sends that email out. If by any chance you need to send it out sooner, you can't wait the 2 minutes. All you want to do is hit stop here, and then you hit poll now, and what it'll do is it'll automatically go out to that directory, find that, and send that that file out, and you'll see it'll say here 1 file sent. The important thing with this auto mailer, just to go over it one more time, is to make sure that you do hit start and not the X up here, because if you do that, it'll just close the program out, and then you won't get emails. Just minimize it, and when you minimize it, it'll show it here down at the bottom right in green. And then on every location, we do have a shortcut on the desktop. So in the event that it does get closed for whatever reason, Windows, it's picky sometimes and just doesn't want to run something, just double click on the program and it'll automatically minimize to the bottom. Okay, so yeah, that's about all I got on pay. I don't know if anybody has any questions on anything else they might want to look at or anything with staff members. If not, I see everybody's still here. I'm going to keep checking to make sure I'm online here. All right.
I would just add this is Adam from Resource Point
Yeah.
of Sale. I'm sitting in on this as well. Without jumping around too much, but the auto mailer that every property gets, there's a distribution list that gets reports every night, as most of you probably know. If they don't go out for some reason, 99% of the time it's because this auto mailer program's not running. So like what Richard, just to kind of reiterate what Richard had said, if you didn't get reports for a night or a couple nights or something like that, that process of just opening up the auto mailer program, stopping it and hitting that poll now button will grab all the reports that are sitting in a folder waiting because they never got sent out. Every time they get sent out, it clears all those reports out of that folder. So that's the simplest way to be able to get all the reports that you might have missed from a night. And then as he also mentioned, making sure that you restart that program, and you can confirm that it's running just by looking at that icon on the taskbar there and confirming that it's at the color green. That means that it's running, and in theory it should continue to send reports out every night.
Yeah. And the other thing too is if you have someone leave, or if you're adding someone, just do it in these fields here. Basically, just make sure that between each email there is a comma and a space. So you just basically eliminate that email address, enter in the new address, put in a comma, space, and that's how you add, distribution. Now, just keep in mind, there's no way for us to just take one report and say only send it to one person. Whoever's on this distribution list will get the emails. Ben, I think you mentioned something about eventually making some sort of distribution lists, I think, for each location.
Yeah, exactly. So fortunately, we had some time to think between the earlier training session and today, and we did determine that we will be creating some distribution lists internally. So actually living in the graduate email system, and from there we'll give access to each of the property general managers so that they can manage who is part of that distribution list. We can also manage it from a corporate location, but what it will eliminate is having to go in here and periodically add or remove members. Basically, it will always just be to something like ddreports at graduatebloomington.com or something. And so ideally, you should never have to manage the two or the CC or the BCCs ever again. We'll always manage them in our internal distribution list and can make changes on the fly. So more details to come on that after the holiday.
Awesome. And obviously let us know. We'll go through and update the automailer program for you guys. Awesome. All right. So if there's no more questions on staff or payroll or anything, let me just make sure I went over. I don't know if really there's nothing, departments and stuff like that. That's if I think we've covered all the jobs that graduate has, but if there is one that comes up that's not on this list, here's where you would add it. Bartender, I think we've pretty much covered all of them, but this is where you would actually add the new job. And, but again, I think if you get to this point, give us a call and we'll walk you through it, together. Let's go back staff. Let's just make sure. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, so if nobody has any questions on staff, I'll go ahead and move to menu items and pricing and all that good stuff. So here again on the same icon, back office, you're going to go over here to menus. All right, so the first scenario we'll do is, okay, we need to change the price of a menu item or a cheeseburger, for example. So here you're going to go to menu items. In digital dining, all the modifiers, all the menu items, everything is in the same list. So if you go here to find, you're going to see that every single item we have or made and modifier is on the same list. You can filter through it just by starting to type the name of the item. So let's say cheeseburgers we're gonna make a change to, and you'll see it'll narrow down the search. So let's go to our cheeseburger, and then here, as you can see, cheeseburger, that's the way that the name shows up on the check. Prep description is how it shows up in the kitchen. Some restaurants use this, like down here in Florida, they have all the cooks in the kitchen are Spanish, so they can change the name of the prep description in Spanish, so they can understand what to make. So that's that. The price levels, normally this is your price level 1, is your regular price. If there is a happy hour price, generally we make it on price level 2 or 3. And it'll automatically, the system, depending on how we set the happy hour times, will flip back and forth on those prices automatically. We definitely ask that when you make a menu item change, say we're changing this one to $9, $900, that's a nice revenue there. So that you change all 5 prices, just in case we ever go in and create another time event, that it does make sure it covers the right price. Over on the right, as you can see, these are the sales types. This is how it reports. Prep type is how it prints. If you have several printers in the kitchen, like this example here has an upstairs and a downstairs kitchen. So this is where we want the item to print to. Price modes, and this is your sales, price mode is fixed. This is where we would actually, if we wanted to prompt the price of the item, is where we would go to open. So we do have some like open beer, open food items, and that's how we actually assign for them to prompt a price. Under sales mode, there's normal menu items, and if it is a modifier, this is where you would select that to let the system know it's mod. Inherit the prep type, that's basically the item the modifier mode. If it is a modifier, it will follow the printing mode of the main item. So regardless whether this is, like, for example, cheeseburger goes to the kitchen downstairs, if I put ketchup, it'll automatically follow the prep type of the main item. For example, if you do have a salad or something that comes with salmon and you want that salmon to route to a different printer, this is where you would actually do it by saying use its own prep type and have that salmon go to a different printer. But I think generally there's only like one kitchen printer at all locations. So the next tab, which is window, is where that item is going to show up, right? Where we want that button to show up for us to ring it in. In this example, it's in the Rock Bar food menu. And then this is the modifier that follows that item when you select it. So when I hit cheeseburger, it's going to go to my burger mod screen, which that is actually under, if I go to menu setup, and then menu POS window, if I type in that burger mod, boom. Right now it's only lettuce, but that's the modifier window that'll pop up on the screen for them. Okay. Again, here, sales, this will show you what the sales are for that item. Images, you can assign different colors to the item. Some of the beers, there's also like logos in here that you can assign. But if you hit find, it'll give you like a color chart. I like to stick to the first page, just select any color here and make it consistent with all the items. So all your burgers the same color, your sandwiches is a different color, but you can select, any color on this palette. Again, if you go find and then you hit next, there's a couple of other different options, but I always stay mainly to the main page. These other tabs, we really don't use them much. Basically you can upload a picture as well of the item if you like. I'm not sure you really need that in combos. We really don't use, but other than that, that's your basic, just editing an item, making changes to the pricing. If you want to add an item, say for example, we're going to add another type of burger. Generally what I do is, again, we go to menu items. I find an item that's similar. So let's add another burger and we'll select a cheeseburger. Very important, again, is because any changes you make on the fly with digital, you don't necessarily have to save. It'll automatically save it for you. So you want to make sure you hit this add button. So once you hit add, you'll see that the screen will go blank. And I'll just call this one a Richard Burger. Okay. Once I hit tab, you'll see it automatically populate the prep description. Here I can change the price. Now here in this little cost, I don't know if it's something really you guys use, but you can put what it costs to make this burger. So you don't really have to have the inventory program with the recipes and all that. But let's say they cost me $4.50 to make this burger. I can run a cost analysis report kind of later on, generally, against that cost. So if something you want to use, is definitely reports we can run. The beauty of copying the item is that all the sales types, the printer, all of this stays the same. So you don't have to go back in and check mark everything, and also the sales tags, and also your windows, because it's a similar item. So it's going to show up on the same Rock Bar food menu, and it's going to have the same modifier. Okay. So once I save that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Rock Bar food menu and make sure that this item is showing up. So once I hit save, I'm going to go up to menu, and we're going to go to setup and down to menu POS window. Okay. And then I'm going to look for that Rock food bar menu. Now, sometimes we have this set to automatically put the button on the screen. I like to have it manual. So this way I put it where I want to. So if you highlight that burger and say I want it to go into this spot here, hit insert, it'll move that item over to that spot. You can drag, these items up and down, however you want, just by clicking and dragging on them with the left mouse button. If there's an item that you want to remove from the screen, say this local ice cream we don't want here, basically you just highlight it, hit the left arrow, and it'll move it off the screen. It won't delete the item, but it'll get it off of a button. So if it's something, you've 86th or you don't just want to have on the screen temporarily, just move it over and then hit save, and it'll save it. Now, if you want to insert and maybe put a little separation between these two items, you can hit this insert button and it'll kick the buttons down. So something you can do. Then you hit save, and that's it. That item is saved. Now, one important thing to remember too is when you add a menu button or an item, you want to make sure you exit out of these screens, because if you don't, it will not populate the point of sale. Now that I'm exited, I'm going to go ahead and launch the POS so we can see where our button's at. I'm going to log in. Okay, I'm going to select the table. And then I'm going to go to my Rock Bar food menu up on the top left, and there's my Richard Burger. Pretty easy to add a food item. And again, my suggestion would be select an item that's already in there that's similar, copy it, change the name, pricing, and all that stuff, and everything else will follow. And then we also have another cheat sheet in the manual on how to do this as well. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of the point of sale. Oops, hang on one second here. Exit OS. All right, any questions on adding a menu item? Anything anybody wanna see, or make sure you're out there. I see you guys. Okay, good. All right, awesome. So menu items, adding, like I said, regular beverage items, food items, pretty simple. Adding a liquor item is a little bit more complicated. And again, I should have left.
Can you do me a favor? And is there a way, and this is like my old restaurant brain talking, to like 86 an item that is just like not for that day, but maybe be able to be for tomorrow or something, like just so that nobody rings it in?
Absolutely. Yeah, so under menu, where do we have it? Menu, is the menu set up? Hang on one second here. Yeah, change item out list right here on the back office. And I'll show you also how to do it on the point of sale. But change item out list. Here, we'll call it default. Basically, here, you're going to search for the item. So let's say, again, we're going to pick on that cheeseburger. Okay, if you highlight the item, and then here's where you put the count. So say if you have 5 of them left, you just put 5. And then as you're ringing up the order, it'll deplete it and then eventually make that button non-functional where you can't select it anymore. Okay, so as you can see here, it's going to have a cheeseburger count of 5. And then let's select another 12-ounce cappuccino. Let's say we have 2 of those left. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now, when I launch my POS, hopefully it doesn't make a liar out of me. Up on the top left here, you'll see that it'll give you a countdown on what you have left. You know, on the 86 item that we just did. Now, you can also do it in the point of sale by going in as a manager. Register options. And let me remember where we have that. Yeah, change item out list. That button here. So basically, this is showing, you know, what items we have on the that are in countdown mode now. And then here we go to all POS windows. Yeah. So now here, basically, what you have to do is go to where the item is. So let's say we're going to go for an item that's under the coffee bar, and it's a 16-ounce coffee that we want to 86. You highlight it, and it'll say enter the quantity of how many are left. If there's none left, you just keep it at 0, and then it'll actually show up as an out. Okay, so you can do it on the back office, or you can do it at the point of sale. And then again, here on the screen, it'll show you that that item is out. Pretty easy. All right. So again, now, actually, I wanted to show you, as you guys, most of you know, let's go ahead and launch the point of sale. I'm going to jump into the liquor and how to program one of those. Right now, for inventory purposes, the way we have liquor rung up is when you select the brand. Let's go in there, liquors and cocktail. So I'm going to go to my rum, and I'm going to select my Bacardi. We have it broken down into different pours. So this way, you know, I don't know if you've seen in other POS systems where you ring up a Bacardi and then you have 5 Bacardis, but then you also list, you know, 3 rocks, 2 mix. So you never really know how many are actually rung up in the different pours. This way we know that Bacardi mix was, or just a better example, say under my rum category, I have my Bacardi and my other rum brands. And each one of them shows, you know, 5 of them are put on order, but then I see 10 rocks, I see, you know, or 8 rocks, 2 mix. So I never really know exactly which one of those was the exact pour. That's why we have them ringing up like this individually, so we know exactly what our pours are. With that means that every Bacardi, we have to have 3 different items for that same Bacardi. So it's a little bit of legwork in the beginning, but it's worth it in the long run. So to show you how to do that, I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of the POS. And again, we do have a cheat sheet that I emailed out step by step on this, so you don't have to write this down if you don't want to. But again, basically what we're going to do is first thing you have to do is create your actual window on where these items are going to go. So basically we're going to go down to menu setup, menu POS window. And then you're going to create, basically hit an add button. And then for graduates, we've started off those screens with an LQ first, and then we call whatever the brand is. So this one I'm just going to call Rich Rum. Okay, so that's the window where eventually those items are going to fall into. So now I'm going to hit save there. So now I've got to go in and I've got to create a button that links to that window. So that is done under menu items, and it's basically called the link only window. So what I'll do is I'll find one similar. Again, anything that doesn't have the description next to it, that's basically a link window. So I'll go to my Bacardi, and then you'll see here under sales mode that it says link only, and it's not how we normally assign like a normal menu item or anything. So it's a link only. I'm going to go ahead and hit add, and I'm going to call this Rich Rum. It's a link only, and then what I have to do is go to this tab here on the next window. And I know it's a lot of steps, but we got it laid out on that document. So right now, this one is going to Bacardi. So I'm going to change that by removing it and then adding Rich Rum that I just created. Okay. And then again, this button is going to fall under the rum point of sale window because I copied it from Bacardi. So now I'm going to hit save. So now I've got to create the items that are going to go into that window. So if I go to find, and again, I always select something that's similar. So I go right back to Bacardi. I hit add. And then here I'm going to create my Rich Rum, and then it's a double. Okay, and I'm going to charge the same price. If I needed to change the price, I can change it there. So now what happens here is I've got to go to my window and obviously take it away from, and always work left to right. You know, that's the best exercise. Remove it from Bacardi and put it in Rich Rum. Okay, and then automatically in the drink mods, it'll default to whatever was assigned to the previous item that you copied from. So now here, once I save this, then I can create my Rich Rum MX for my mix. Oops, my mix, and then whatever we can call that, $7. And then my Rich Rum RX, my rocks. So let's say that's $9. Okay. Now once I save that and I exit, and if I go back to that POS window now, Rich Rum, there's my 3 items. So again, like I said, it's a little bit of legwork. So it's basically 3 items for every brand, but reporting wise, it's just much better. So now also what you need to make sure of, is we need to go to the rum screen and make sure that the Rich Rum, and here it automatically put itself in that window because we have it set up here as a build method automatic. But again, you can move it, you know, wherever you want, alphabetical order, however. Let's put it there, Rich Rum. Boom. And you save. So again, now let's go to the POS and make sure that it shows up there. Okay, select the table. Covers, liquor. Let's go to rum, and there's my Rich Rum. And then there's my double, my mix, and my rocks. Now again, for the servers, it'll automatically bring up the modifier screen. Bartenders, it will not unless you want it to. But if they do need to go in and make a change to it, they can always just highlight the item and hit modifier, and it'll automatically bring up the modifier that's assigned to that item. So again, typically the bartenders, you don't need the mix, screen to come up, but there's some locations that do still want them to ring it up. So. And also you can always highlight it and do the instructions button which, is just add, whatever instructions you want onto that item, and it'll show right here on the underneath there. So like I said, a few extra steps, but once you do 2 or 3 of them, you'll get into the groove of it. And we've got it outlined pretty detailed in that document that we emailed out. Any questions there on adding a menu item or a liquor item? Nope, sounds good. Let's go back in and let's take a look at that menu real quick. Here again, here's your menu items. Here's some menu reports. So here you can always go back and run a menu price list, which I advise everybody to do, every once in a while. But basically, you highlight that button. It gives you a bunch of different options on how to run a report. You can filter through this and make it, where you only see a certain category that I want to see. If you only want to see your appetizers, basically you kick over the items to exclude them, and you just select whatever items it is you want to see on this report. So you don't have to go through different things, different items that you don't want to see for if you're only doing your beer price list. Let's go back here. Sorry, let's go back. Boom. Over here on the right hand side, if you don't group it, it just basically puts it on the report by PLU number. So I always recommend doing it by sales type. So this will break it down by appetizer, soups, salads, entrees, your different liquors. Prep type, I don't really know if you ever use that. That's how it prints into the kitchen. But basically your sales type, if you hit print, you'll see here, it'll give you a nice neat report of every item under the appetizer screen and what the pricing is, what your price level 2s are, that kind of thing. And here's where your plate costs go as well. All right, and then also if it's text, very important. So real nice report. And again, every single report can be emailed just by doing that same procedure with the email reporting and exporting it. And you can also print it as well. But here's how you filter through the different pages. So nice report. Yeah, there's also modifier lists or sales analysis. So we're not really using the recipes. Here's your cost percentage report that I was talking about. If you put that little cost dollar amount on each item, this is a report you can run, for that. We went over the change item out list. There's nothing really under menu item utilities that you'll use. I mean, you can do an export if you'd like, menu setup or actually main groups, sales types. Anytime you need anything like that, just contact us as far as setting up any groups, because there's some parameters here that need to be set up as well. But basically, these are the main, reporting tools or categories. That's all about it on menus. If anybody has any questions. Nope, looking good. All right. The next is just reports. We wanted to go through just how to run different reports. We know how to email and export them, but under register reports, again, this is in the back office. The main section we always go to pretty much is receipt reports, and the profit center report is the one that we run generally every day, and that's what gets emailed out. There's different parameters here that you can run as far as date ranges and things like that. You can always do just your custom report as well on your own dates. So say we just want to run it for the month of July, you can just put just date here. Even though you're hitting print, it always comes up on a preview screen first. And then here it'll give you the different revenue centers. Obviously here the point desker is the only one that's open right now, so that's the only thing that's showing up. But if you have multiple, profit centers, it'll show up here and give you a total at the end of them all. And again, every report can be emailed and can be exported. The other cool thing too is, I mean, even though there are some other canned reports here already set up, you can set up your own report by going here to define. And again, I always advise hitting the add button if you're going to create your own report. But say we want to run a lunch report only with the profit center because you only want to see everything you've done at lunch. I think there's already a report in there, but just for training purposes, if you hit add, you just name the report however you want. So I'll just call it Rich Lunch Report. Okay, there's different fields here and different options that you can use. You can do it by servers if you want, by their numbers. You can also do it by time. So say I want this report to only give me the sales from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., whatever your timeline is. You can do that here, and then here your default date range. That's how it comes up automatically when you go to run this report. You can set it to yesterday, usually what I do. And then working from left to right, you can filter even more options out. You can select, okay, I only want to see my cash sales or whatever tender types you used, only from certain registers, only from certain profit centers. Like some locations, have obviously the different bar locations, the Point Dexter. You can filter it, so only give you that information for that one revenue center. Again, here's receipt types, what days you want the report to run, and that's just a memo for you for your own reference purposes. But yeah, and then once you save it and you exit, that report will be an option here on this list. So Rich Lunch Report for yesterday automatically. If I hit print, it'll just give me that dollar amount for the time that I've specified in that report. So I've had it, where I've gotten a call before where the customer's like, hey, I know I've done a lot more business than this. I don't know what's going on. Something's wrong with the report. The system's not reporting properly. It's, again, probably because they accidentally went into this profit center report, went to define, and changed the times here. So as long as you change the times back to a full day, usually that takes care of the reporting issue. But we've had that in the past. Okay, and again, under register reports, there's comparison. There's the receipt report. What I would advise is just going through and looking at these different reports and see which one suits your needs. There's a bunch of different ones here under sales. Under sales report, there's comparison reports that you can run from this month to last year. There's again food sales. So it looks like some of these have already been modified. End of day specials, sales types, menu item. So again, I advise just going through and running each one of them and seeing which one suits. But here's your discount report. And then under discount report, you have, audits, you have different summaries. So here's a discount audit, sorry. So let's run that for this month. I don't know if there's going to be really anything in here, right? Yeah, so here you'll see under the discount report, it'll tell you what discount was issued, how much for, what the discount percentage was, who the staff member was, and who the manager was that ran the report or did the discount, sorry. And then also the check detail. That's
Hey,
one thing
Richard,
about, yep, go ahead, Ben.
Well, I was to say, we had a quick question come up for specific reports, and I just want to be cognizant of timing here that we get this one in. So Joe specifically asked, is now the right time to address getting void receipts, or is that through like the basic front of house training that we had set aside? Basically what he's saying is whenever he tries to do a void out, he's not really getting void receipts, and he needs to make sure that he gets a receipt every time he processes a void to be able to hand off to accounting.
Yeah, we can do that. We can, have a void receipt print without a problem. Hang on one second. Which location is that?
That would be for Evanston.
Evanston. Yeah, we can do that. Or again, instead of hanging on to every receipt and, losing one or anything, we can always come here to this register report, voids report. And let me go ahead and there's a void audit trail. We can do it by manager or by summary. So let's say it for this month. Actually, let's do it last month. Print, and then here, this will give you a detail of exactly what voids were done. And you can run this by day, by week, by month. So I'm not sure if this helps out instead of hanging on to each separate receipt. It's totally up to
Joe and I have talked about that. I've got a note to actually ask you about that, Richard. We might have to dig into that for him. I mean, the void audit is a report, one of the canned reports that gets emailed out every night. Right. I think they're looking for an actual receipt each time they do a transaction in the front of the house, a receipt that prints out at the local printer.
Okay.
To sort of, I don't know, to cross-reference the void audit report. So I know it's something we can configure. I just wasn't quite sure how to do it. So we can make a note to try to get that done for Evanston. And then the only thing I wanted to add to, as you were talking about reports, is we do have, like I said earlier, all the properties get reports emailed to them every night, and I think that covers nearly everything that like the controllers and the accounting teams at each property would need. But as Richard was kind of going through and showing you how you can define reports, I mean, you're not going to break anything in the system by playing around and creating new reports and trying to define them, whether it's during a certain time period or different sales types. Like, we would encourage you to try to create reports that you think might benefit you. We've got our sort of standard reports for the Graduate brand, across all properties, but creating new ones and defining them the way you want is something that you're totally welcome to do. And I think that's one of the things we wanted to kind of show you today. I think Richard kind of touched on some of that, but as far as the reporting that you get every night is going to cover a lot of the needs from the accounting team, and the folks from AJ Capital as well. Well, they're on a lot of those distribution lists, and their product mix reports, and then the end of day profit center reports are I think the ones that they look at the most. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. And then here too, this is the end of day void audit trail. So this one also gives you each specific void that was done, and then the check number over here on the right hand side. Okay. And then one of the things you can always do if need be is you can rerun a check or reprint a check from a previous day by going up here, register reports, and then just receipt or check print. So we can, here's obviously some filters that it's looking for and dates. So I'll just put yesterday's date. And then here, if you have the check number, great. It's good to input it, because and then you don't have to filter through all of them. But if basically you hit search, it'll give you all the checks rung up for that day. So if you select what the check number is, hit OK, it'll actually give you that check right here on the screen and how it was closed out, how it was tendered, whether there was a tip on it. And again, this report, you can email it to yourself, or if you don't, or email it, or if you don't want, a lot of times, you just take a screenshot of it, send it to the customer if they need a detail. And again, that's under register reports, and then receipt or check print. This check audit is a nice handy tool in the event that, there's been issues with a check, one got closed automatically, there was any issues, you can go right to that check, hit OK, and it'll tell you exactly every single step that was taken on that check. So room charge, enter, anything that was rung up on that check, it'll automatically show it up here. So we can always go back and see if there's an issue with it going to the kitchen. You can prove it all here in this one screen. More report. Yeah. Any other questions on the reports? So Ben, do we have till 3? I mean, you want to open it up to Q&A right now, or?
Yeah, we've got about 7 minutes or so left. There is one specific question I think would benefit everyone, but we did have it come up. Can you very quickly cover the front of house side specific for refunds?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go. Boom. All right. So front of the house, obviously we'll log in. Boom, boom. For a refund, you do have to open a table. And then you're going to go to check options down at the bottom. Is he calling me a liar here? Where do we have the refunds? Are the refunds under register options there, Adam? Hang on 1 second. Sorry, guys. Could have sworn I had to open up a check.
We're going to do it as a special item, or actually ring in the specific items.
Oh, sorry. So I have to go into the table. Sorry, I'm fumbling through this, guys. All right, so we go to check options first, right? Shouldn't there should be a refund button here.
Hold on, I'm going to check out another property.
Yeah, sorry about this, Ben. But if anything, what I can do, instead of wasting nobody's time, I can send out a document on doing a refund. I know I've got that in here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. If you want to put together the same kind of cheat sheet that you had provided, that'd be great.
Yeah, basically what it is when you select the refund button here, it'll kick you back out to the menu screen, and then you select the item that you want to refund or put in an open dollar amount for the refund. and then you tender it out, and it'll issue the refund. I'm just not sure why we don't have it on this one particular site. It should be on here.
So that's what I saw. So I saw, and then I went back.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'll get a document out to you guys on that.
Awesome. Thanks. That's the only thing that I had specifically that was called out. I'll open it up to anyone else if there are other questions.
Yeah, and then if you want, we can always schedule another, in a couple of weeks, we can always schedule another class to do front of the house stuff, and go through, but I'm pretty sure everybody's good on it. But if they need me to set up a front of the house manager training, we can do that.
Okay, so send back to that 88.
Oh, no questions. And again, sometimes if we need to walk you guys through, real quick, if we need to walk you guys through connecting us to a terminal because it may be offline, exiting the register is real easy. You just exit register at the bottom right. You put in your manager number and then your password, and then exit to OS down at the bottom left. Don't hit shutdown. Shutdown will shut down the whole point of sale terminal on you. And then typically on every point of sale, we have this little support portal icon on the desktop. So what we do is ask you to double click on it, and then whoever the help desk rep is will tell you which one to select. So say, for example, Richard Alfonso, I'll select it. You'll click on the second click here, and then it'll prompt you to run. And if it prompts you to run again, that's fine. And then you'll see these two computers connecting. So that means that it's connecting to the rep. Okay. I just want to show you guys that real quick because that's important in case there's any issues with the terminals. And we have the capability of being able to connect to any of the terminals on the network.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, thank you guys for being here. Let me know if you have any questions. I think you have my email. If you want to send me a follow-up email with any questions, if you think about it afterwards, you're welcome to.
That's awesome. Thank you so much again, Richard, for being available to do this. Again, thank you for flexibility and scheduling a part 2 today. For the team out there, we will get this video posted to the LMS. The other thing I want to remind the team is we do have a specific application support policy where we request that you reach out to the RPAWS help desk email rather than emailing, Richard or Adam or Brian from the team individually. So what we'll do is we'll send out another email to the team that just says, as a reminder, here's where you can find the contact details. Please work through the help desk. And then if you need anything else, you know how to find us.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Take care. Enjoy your 4th holiday.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.